Let's talk about something that nobody wants to touch right now, and that's autism. We're going to talk about what autism is, what autism isn't. Are we supposed to be working with it? Are we supposed to not be working with it? Is it genetic? Is it environmental? There is just so much buzz going on right now with all the media frenzy around autism. And what I want to do is I want to share some of my opinions about this. We've worked with a handful of autistic patients, and while we use some of the traditional approaches, we also tie in a lot of these different abstract approaches. So I want to give my opinions. You guys might not agree with all of them, and that's okay. But I think that I hold some very valuable thoughts in this space, and I want to share them with you guys. First and foremost, I think, yes, we should be doing things to help support autism. It's important to note that autism is a spectrum. So you have two ends of the spectrum. You have one side that needs minor accommodations, and then other side that needs daily one-on-one help. In my opinion, saying you shouldn't be treating autism at all, you should be accepting them who they are, I think is good, but I think we need to look a little bit further past that, because I think that dismisses some of the very, very real struggles and pains that some of these kids and adults go through every single day. Some of the kids that we work with, they have extreme pain, they have behavioral issues, they have sensory sensitivities, they have anxiety, they have stomach issues, they have sleep disturbances. And I think that the more that we're able to do to help some of those symptoms is going to transfer over and make somebody a lot happier and a lot healthier. With every kid that I work with, every single child is absolutely brilliant. I learned something from every single kid that I work with, bar none. But what I will say is a lot of these kids are extremely frustrated with their bodies. They have all of these extremely high cognitive skills, but their body's not doing what their brain is ultimately telling them to do. So if we're able to do something that's able to help them control and feel a little safer in their body, I consider that a huge and a big win. Now, here's what I want you guys to think. There's plenty of neurologic differences out there that cause certain symptoms. So we could say everything from anxiety to migraines to concussion to dizziness. And I can almost guarantee that if you told somebody that's suffering from some of those conditions that we have different therapies and different modalities that can help them feel even 1% better, I don't think anybody would say no to that. So with somebody struggling with symptoms related to autism, why don't we think in that same way? If we have tools that is able to help somebody's anxiety decrease by 50%, why wouldn't we want to do something like that? So you have to understand this. This isn't about them changing who they are. This isn't about saying, hey, we're trying to get rid of an autism diagnosis. This is about helping somebody feel safer, more comfortable, and more confident in their body. Now the question is, what does treatment actually look like? So I think a better way to think about treatment is thinking about it as support. When it comes to autism, the more that you learn about it, the more complex you really realize that it is. So there's a neurologic component, there's an inflammatory component, there's an immune component, there's an energy component, there's a gut component, there's a detox component, and the reality is a lot of these children, they have bits and pieces from all of these different areas. When we're coming up with our care plan, we take a little bit more of a foundational approach where we say, what kind of modalities can we do that helps to make the brain and body a little bit stronger? If we make the brain and body stronger, how does that tie over into the symptoms that somebody's having? If we make a brain stronger, can behavior get better? Can focus and attention get better? Can sleep get better? And the answer to all of that is yes. So by taking this approach, we're not even really trying to treat autism. What we're trying to do is help optimize the brain and the body. If we get those two things optimized, somebody's life will be a little bit more comfortable and they will live a more confident life. Now, the big question is, what causes autism? Is it genetics or is it your environment? And there's some people that say it's all genetics. There's some people that say it's all environment. And I land somewhere in the middle with that because that's what a lot of the research says. So with all the research that's been done with autism, there's not one single gene that causes autism. What they found is that there is a cluster of different genes and they may all work together that increases somebody's susceptibility to developing autism. But it's important to note that these genes alone don't singularly cause autism. What I always say is that genetics is going to be loading the gun, is going to be giving you that more susceptibility, but the environment is ultimately what's pulling the trigger. There is a long list of different environmental factors that can ultimately affect our brain and our body. And this relates everything back to pregnancy, throughout the first part of your life and even throughout your adulthood. That could be a whole separate video on its own, but a lot of the research now is even looking into your prenatal risk factors and everything from maternal stress to infections to your mother's microbiome to their vitamin and mineral levels to their inflammatory levels to their toxin exposure while they're pregnant to different autoimmune diseases they may have. And all of these put together creates just a vulnerable environment for a developing brain. So if you already have a genetic predisposition and then you start stacking all of these environmental risk factors on top of that, that's ultimately what works synergistic with together to create autism. And everybody has a different genetic susceptibility to be able to handle all this environmental stress. So there's not one thing that causes autism. People are looking for the one cause of autism, and I don't think you will ever find it. In my opinion, it's the genetics stacked on top of the environmental stresses, them coming together, creating a perfect storm and causing autism or other different developmental disorders. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about just this media frenzy that's happening right now. There's a lot of talk about autism around just brain health and our health in general. And I want to say that I think it's important that somebody's stepping up and actually putting some of their opinions out there that have a meaningful voice that can be able to impact some of your big companies and big pharma and ask some serious questions that is important to have answers to. This is one thing that I tell just about everybody. If you sub out the word autism and you replace that with childhood brain health, pretty much all of the conversation is different. What RFK is ultimately trying to do is he's trying to figure out different factors from our environment that are negatively affecting a child's brain. And if you look at the statistics, our children just aren't as healthy as they used to be. Whether that's diabetes, whether that's obesity, whether that's ADHD, anxiety, depression, autism, pretty much every single developmental disorder that there is, or any sort of mental health disorder, especially in the pediatric world, it's skyrocketing like it never has before. And I think it's incredibly important to ask why this stuff is happening. And when he talks about autism, I wholeheartedly think that he's talking about more of the severe autism, the ones that need one-to-one care pretty much at all times. Some of those kids, and we've talked about that plenty in this video, these kids I wholeheartedly believe would be a little bit happier and a little bit more content if they didn't have to face some of the struggles that they deal with day in and day out. So to all of you parents that are looking for more, that want to ask these hard questions, you're not crazy, you're not wrong, and you don't have to feel guilty for having these thoughts. What you have to remember is whether it's autism or whether it's any chronic health condition, that healing and progress is an overall journey. And you want to do things that help to build up this positive momentum. And what you have to remember is all of these small wins, they stack on top of each other to make some of your bigger wins. Now, with all of this new media frenzy, a lot of people are pitching some of their autism cures. And what I'll say is if somebody says that they have a cure for autism, or they have a quick fix, or it's take this one pill and your child will be speaking in a week, those are your red flags. Those are the people that you want to stay away from. What you have to do and what you have to search out for a comprehensive autism plan is just that. It has to be comprehensive. It has to be tying together these different factors that tie into an autistic brain and body. So doing your therapy is extremely, extremely important. Doing your reflex work, your OT, your PT, maybe is ABA, that stuff's important, but you can't forget about the whole other side of your diet and nutrition and detox, and then the whole other side of all your mitochondrial support, your energy support. So having this big comprehensive approach to autism is crucial, is extremely, extremely important. But what I can say with confidence is do not let anybody, whether that's family, friends, or the media, put a ceiling on what your child's potential is. So if this resonated with you, please follow along. We're going to be sharing all sorts of things that tie into some of these thoughts. We've helped thousands of families with this kind of approach, and I want to do everything I can to put information out there that's able to help you as well.